News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290 and 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
Two arrested after a high-speed chase. Good morning and the top of the morning to you. This is John King filling in for Peter Christian. It's St. Patrick's Day, Thursday, March 17th. We'll get on into the weather a little bit later, but starting off with our newscast brought to you this hour by Kootenai Creek Village, the maintenance-free active adult community in Stevensville, offering the best of Western Montana living. Call 777-5387. A high-speed chase that started on Interstate 90 and Highway 93 around 11 a.m. yesterday morning ended near Lamprey Road just south of Arlee about 50 minutes later, NBC Montana reports. Investigators say it began when Montana Highway Patrol troopers tried to pull the car over near the Y for a registration violation. Officers say the driver refused to stop and then led them on a chase where speeds topped 115 miles per hour at times. Spike strips were used to end that chase, flattening all four of the car's tires. The car involved was a Honda Accord registered in Missoula County. Officers arrested the male driver and female passengers who are suspected of having drugs and are awaiting charges. Early on in the case, investigators say the suspects threw something out of their car window. MHP reports that after a search later, they recovered drug paraphernalia. Deputies say the driver hit a mailbox, drove through a residential yard, crossed a ditch, and hit a CSKT police squad car before finally being stopped. Yesterday, President Barack Obama nominated Judge Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court, hoping that both Democratic and Republican parties could come together and support that decision. But he'll have a hard time convincing Montana's Republican delegates. Quote, President Obama has a history of writing his own rules and ignoring the laws he doesn't like, end quote, said Montana Congressman Ryan Zinke, quoting again, this is clearly beyond his constitutional authority, and I have voted every chance possible to stop him in his tracks. To the Senate, I say, fully embrace your job, fully embrace the Constitution, and proactively define the criteria for who should fill Justice Scalia's shoes. They are big shoes to fill, but America did not give us the congressional majority to do small things, end quote. Montana Senator Steve Daines released the following statement, reiterating that the American people should have the opportunity to elect a new president before a Supreme Court justice is seated.
The replacement of Justice Scalia will have far-reaching impacts on our country for a generation. The American people have already begun voting on who the next president will be, and their voice should continue to be reflected in a process that will have lasting implications on our nation. The U.S. Senate should exercise its constitutional powers by not confirming a new Supreme Court justice until the American people elect a new president and have their voices heard. I will oppose any hearings or votes for President Obama's nominee to the Supreme Court.
Senator John Tester said that although the legislators have the right to vote no on a candidate that is not qualified, to not hold a vote at all would be a dereliction of duty. The Montana Human Rights Bureau has dismissed a discrimination complaint brought by a former deputy against the Missoula County Sheriff's Office. Former Missoula County Sheriff's Office Public Information Officer Paige Pavallone had filed a complaint alleging she was fired for gender discrimination and for supporting Sheriff T.J. McDermott's political opponent in the November 2014 election. The Bureau's investigation released Wednesday found no reasonable cause to believe Pavallone's termination was discriminatory. Montana Human Rights Bureau Chief Mariek Beck said, quote, after investigation, the Human Rights Bureau has found no reasonable cause to believe that discrimination occurred. The Bureau has issued a no reasonable cause finding in which it determined that the allegations of the complaint were not supported by a preponderance of the evidence, end quote. Pavallone's attorney said he didn't think that the Bureau conducted a thorough investigation and that they plan to pursue the case in Lewis and Clark County District Court. Pavallone has also filed a lawsuit against the sheriff's office. McDermott said that Pavallone was fired because she encouraged her friend to lie during an internal investigation into a drunk driving charge. That charge was later dropped. Former Missoula Police Lieutenant Steve Brester is being investigated by the Montana Department of Justice Criminal Investigation Division after being accused of stealing drugs from the Montana State Crime Lab, where he served as an evidence technician. The State Attorney General's office has reported that 50 cases statewide were impacted by drug tampering, but according to Missoula Deputy County Attorney James McCubbin, only one of those cases was actually a Missoula case.
There was one case that we were informed of that may have been affected. I reviewed that case. It ended up being referred for federal indictment. The case actually involved two different kinds of drugs. There were pills that appeared to have been tampered with at the lab, but then there was also methamphetamine.
The meth was sent to a different crime lab, which helped to keep the case from getting derailed.
The methamphetamine actually had been sent to a federal lab for testing. The federal indictment didn't actually have anything to do with the pills anyway, and the individual ended up pleading guilty on that case, and the lab situation had no effect on the outcome of the case.
At this point, it's still unclear if any of the other 49 drug cases involved will face trial difficulties because of the tampering. At this point, Brester has not been officially charged with a crime. The Montana Department of Revenue is hard at work filing state tax returns, and Molly Peterson with the DOR has more.
We have issued over 204,000 refunds. Those refunds have averaged $400 and it's a little up from last year in terms of what we have processed. Last year we had around 232,000 returns processed and we had 194,000 refunds. The refund amount was $406 for the average at this time last year.
Peterson said that the number of fraudulent claims was a little down this year. Last year, apparently one scam took up about 300 of those claims. Here's the details on this year.
We have stopped a significant number of fraudulent returns. We've blocked 188 fraudulent returns so far this year, which has saved folks over $220,000.
The tax deadline this year, April 18th. Environmental groups have sued federal officials over plans that would allow extensive oil, gas, and coal development in the Powder River Basin of Montana and Wyoming. The lawsuit against the Bureau of Land Management was filed Tuesday in U.S. District Court in Great Falls. It targets agency plans approved in September as part of efforts to protect greater sage grouse. The lawsuit is backed by the Western Organization of Resource Councils, the Sierra Club, and other groups. They say letting companies extract fossil fuels from millions of acres in the region would make climate change worse. In the Powder River Basin is the largest coal mining region in the United States. It's time to check in with our weather forecast. Weather brought to you by Brooke Foster this morning. Also by our friends over at Montana Glass. Your friends in glass. Ask about the energy savings benefits of new windows at Montana Glass. They're at 550 Hawthorne over there by the West Broadway, Missoula Fresh Market. Give them a call at 728-3180. Take it away, Brooke.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Light accumulations of snowfall are expected this morning. That will impact your morning commute, but towards the afternoon, rain will mix in. High temperatures will top out in the low 40s. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for Missoula's KECI 13.